Hello, so in this video I'm going to show you how I do my art journaling pages. I have two pages that I'm going to do. I'm using Mod Podge for this, and I'm just tearing papers and gluing them down, and invite you to join me for this process. This process video is a little long, so grab yourself a cup of coffee or tea or drink and join me. Maybe you'd like to sit down with some art journaling of your own that you'd like to do. I really enjoy this process. There's just something about taking that glue and just very gently putting it on the page, not worrying, am I going inside the lines, outside the lines, am I blending this right, am I doing this right? It's just freeing to do art journaling. Really love it. I'm using matte Mod Podge because I don't want the shiny Mod Podge for this. I have some digitals that I will be using in this, and I ink some of the edges. Sometimes when you use the distressed ink and you glue the Mod Podge down, it turns that distressed edge a different color, so keep that in mind. I just use vintage photo here, but little pattern piece here just to soften that peachy orange. In this corner here, I have a 4-leaf clover made on some handmade paper that my friend Suzanne L. made for me. I'm so happy to put this in my art journal. And I don't want to cover this up because I want this to be right where you can see it, because it was made with love. And the same thing for this. This is ledger paper from the 1900s. And when I put this ledger paper in my hand, I really just think about the person that's writing the ledger. He or she is behind the counter. And then the person on the other side of probably a wooden floor, the smell of wood all around, barrels filled with probably pickles and different things, and the wooden counter that the person is writing on, and the tally, the total that the person is adding up for the customer. Even as I was gluing this, I could smell that wooden, old papery kind of smell. And that's what I like about working with vintage papers. They just take you back, and you can appreciate their worth. It's not really a junk journal, it's a treasure journal. I wish we could get the name changed from junk journal to treasure journal. Maybe I can start a trend. There's treasure books already. Maybe when I say I'm making a treasure journal, people will be a little more receptive than a junk journal. When I tell them I make junk journals, they look at me like, you do? I love this little piece. This is just from the bottom of a page. Having recently wrote a book myself, I'm really aware of the different pieces to a book and what goes on a page. My book, Truth Be Told, A Mother's Raw Grief, is not a happy book. It's a tearjerker. It's about my losing my 2 children. So it's available at Amazon. So I love it when you can just pick up pieces of paper that you're working with, and then they just fill a spot. And you didn't even plan it out. You just pick it up and they just go there. I love butterflies. I love looking at them outside. But I don't always know how to incorporate them in my journals. Somehow I just feel like they always look so cheap when I do it. Not necessarily in other people's journals, but in my journals. But this one I like. The reason being, I have one similar to that flying around in my vegetable garden. And I've seen it on 4 different occasions, 4 different days. And I wonder somehow, why is it still flying around? It's been 2 weeks. I thought butterflies had a short life. So I'm moving along with this, and I love this green digital because it reminds me of wallpaper, and I can't have it up in my house, so why not have it in my journal? I had wallpaper in my other house, and my husband prefers that I don't wallpaper the whole place up again. I basically wallpapered every room in the other house, even the stairwells. Who knows? Maybe I might do it again. Maybe I'll start off with the little bathroom. It's so much easier to change the paint, though, than it is to change the wallpaper. But not in a journal. If you're liking what you see, can you give me a thumbs up? I love watching process videos. Sometimes I put them on in my car and I just listen as I'm driving down the road. Sometimes I put them on when I'm in my craft room and I'm working on something. I never fully watch the whole thing, but I like listening to it. It's like having another crafty friend around. Always like putting music paper in my collages. I have music paper in there already, but it just adds so much. Putting them on tags. And whenever I'm using a section like this from a book or a page, I always skim over it to make sure that the words are not something that I wouldn't want to be there. I'm very particular about what I glue down because if I feel like it's not appropriate, I don't put it in there. This is a little story about a poet. I think his name was Jason Foster, and I do have a book of poetry from, no, not Jason. I can't see it right now because I'm doing a voiceover, but I remember the last name was Foster. Gotta make sure you glue underneath so this glues down. And I don't mind the wrinkles. I feel like it adds to my, I'm using my artistic license. I've wanted to use that phrase for a while. So this is, finally I remembered to put the plastic underneath before I started working. And there's a little pin behind here that's causing a bulky area. So I'm going to take that off and hope I'll remember to put it back on when everything's all dried up, because it's making like a bumpy place when I try to glue down. But isn't this fun? If you if you like what you see, would you consider subscribing? Thank you. Oh, this little paper, just with some letters on it, just those peachy red letters. I was thinking that it picked up that peachy paper underneath the butterfly, and then down in the right hand corner, the Tim Holtz wallpaper piece. It has a little peachy orangey in there, and I'm trying to put a little more in without having it be unbalanced. And I'm not trying to overthink it, but you have to put some thought into it. I have water boiling in the background. I'm going to can 5 quarts of tomato sauce today from my garden. I picked the tomatoes. It's so satisfying to do that. So I have more pages from Daphne Diary, which is one of, if you've watched my other videos, you hear me talk about how much of a favorite it is of mine. Yeah, it's coming together, I think, nicely here. The next part that I do with the paint is, it's fun, but for me, it's like I'm still not sure if I figured out how to make a complete balance when I finger paint with this. I do like it. It's a nice quiet afternoon, and it's sunny after a few days of rain, so it's just pleasant to look out and see the trees, the leaves blowing on the trees and the sun shining on them. It's just, and then watching my garden grow, it's just so fine. Just love it. Lovely day. Love to use that little blow dryer. One of these days I'll use it to do some embossing, but I haven't done that yet. I have most of the stuff, but I haven't done it. But I love it for decoupaging, which I'm doing here. I just take a wet brush and go around the edges that I want to take out. That way I don't create little mountains with tears when I start tearing. At first I thought I would just decoupage this down, and then I would paint around it with my fingers, and then another part of me was like, I kind of like it just the way it is. Just the colors are so nice. Decoupaging is so fun. I think what I'm going to do now is just set this to some really pretty music and let you just watch and see what I do. And if you like it, again, give me a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. That'd be awesome. So why don't I go ahead and do some music, since I'm running out of things to say about what I'm doing, and it might be monotonous for you to listen to me just going on and going on. So let's see. So I'm going to try my fingers with the paint. I got these two paints. I don't want to mix too many different paints in here because I'm not sure where I'm going with it. I wanted to use gesso because it's nice and bright, but then I decided, yeah, like see right here, I'm putting this paint on and I'm thinking, what did I do that for? So I used the rest of that napkin that I tore apart, got it wet, and took that paint off. That's the good thing about acrylics. Acrylics are so forgiving. I learned that when I was teaching myself how to paint, um, which I'm still learning. But they wash off with water so easily. And paintbrushes too. If you forget your paintbrush, I made a little video on cleaning your paintbrushes. I think I had left glue on mine, the Mod Podge, but I got it out. I had a secret ingredient. So I'm just dotting the paint here and there, and it's a different perspective when you're looking at the video afterwards and you're doing a voiceover from when you're just looking down on it. I wonder next time if I will get that book angled, the journal angled, like sitting on the signature, and then have it up like you were reading a book and paint that way. Because when I paint with acrylics, I do better with it that way. I don't do so well when it's flat. I can't grasp the dimension that I'm working with, and I feel like I come away wishing that I didn't put as much paint on it, or maybe I overdid it in some areas. I'm not convinced that I've got this all down with the finger painting thing, but it still is a lot of fun. I mean, look at this. Isn't this fun? The doily, I was going to try to incorporate, changed my mind. And at the top, where it's a bridge over troubled water, I was trying to keep that. And the more I looked at it, the more flat it was compared to everything else. And I said, let me just cover it because it just doesn't seem to fit in with what I'm doing. Some more of the magazine just to get a little bit of a different color in there. Pick up some more of that aqua. I find that in the beginning when I was trying to do art journaling, I was hesitant to cover what I had just put down. And I find that when you're doing that a lot, oh, my dog is scratching his bed, getting himself a good spot. I find that when I am layering, that I question myself, do I want to cover that up? And with art journaling, you do a lot of layering, and you do cover up sometimes big portions of what you just laid down. So I want to use my black marker, that little thin black marker, but I thought, let me put some modeling paste down and use a stencil to do it. That's another fun part of making these art journal pages. It adds dimension, and using the white is good in this case because it's a highlighter. Sometimes when we're doing the journals, we're always trying to cover up the white to make it look more vintage, but it seems to work when you're putting that bright white on the finishing touches of your pages. Now, sometimes you get a big box of lemons what do? There's my lemons. So first I'm going to try scraping it off. Wait, I kind of like how that looks. I think I'm going to leave that scraped look just the way it is. Let me try again in the bottom to make that little fleur-de-lis kind of thing. Yeah, I'm thinking I like this. I think I'm going to make another happy mistake over on the other side. Oh, how about up here? So that, I did forget to put my plastic in between, and I probably have it on a place where I wasn't sure that I wanted it. And here I have a little bubble. When I used my dryer, if you hold it too close to the modeling paste, it will bubble on you. So be careful with that. Just keep it moving. You have to keep it moving. Now I have this spray. I just squirted it instead of, doing spatters the other way. I just held back and did a little bit of spraying with that distressed ink. And this takes forever to dry. So what I end up doing is just leaving it overnight. So much better. Oh boy, obnoxious motorcycles. Not a fan of them. Okay, so I'm gonna take one last look at this, and I'm thinking it still needs something. So I'm breaking out the washi tape. Love it when I can use the washi tape, since I have so many rolls of it that I had to have. I haven't purchased anything in a while, although over the weekend I did pick up a couple of antique vintage pieces. One was a book, one was an autograph book from 1835 that I had to have. It was a great price. It was only $1, and the book was $1.50. But I won't allow myself to buy any more new stuff because I have so much, and now I'm done. Let's see what this looks like. Hope you like it. Thanks for watching.